Okay, this is a review because you have a factoring quiz. So we're going to review this study guide, and I'm just going to go through it. And please write down the problem. And if you don't know how to get it started, this is the page you need, print it out, or you can just write the problems down as you go. Write down the problem and then pause it and try it. And if you can't get it started, unpause it, watch what I do. You know how it goes, right? Okay, so first I'm going to look at this guy, and I'm looking just at the coefficients. The coefficient is the number that's multiplied by the variable. So I'm looking at 49, and of course, I'm looking at the negative. There's a negative, actually negative in both places. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm pulling negative out here. And I know that I'm going to end with a binomial in my parentheses because there's a binomial to start with. Okay, so I'm going to pull out the negative. Now I'm going to look at 49 and 42, and I know that 7 goes into both of those. So I'm going to put a 7 out here. Notice I'm leaving room because now I've got to look at my variable. So x squared and x. So I take the smallest coefficient, or I'm sorry, smallest, oh my goodness. Exponent. Where did that word go? Sorry. Yeah, smallest exponent. And the smallest exponent is in this one. It's x to the first. You can't see that one, but it's understood to be there. So I'm pulling out an x to the first. All right, now what I want to do to see what goes inside this binomial is I'm going to say, okay, I've got negative 49 x squared divided by negative 7x. Okay, so negative divided by negative, that's going to be a positive. 49 divided by 7 is going to give me 7. Okay, so positive and then 7. And then if you remember how the laws of exponents work, the quotient rule says that you subtract those exponents. So x squared over x to the first, we're just going to go 2 minus 1, and that gives us an x. So that goes away like that. So we've just got 7x. All right, now I'm going to say negative 42x divided by negative 7x. All right, again, negative over negative becomes positive, so that tells me I've got a plus right there. And then 42 divided by 7 gives me 6, so there's a 6 right there. X divided by x, those canceled. So I am done. That is getting out the greatest common factor. Every time, look first for the greatest common factor. And I'm going to clip right along here, guys, because you can pause, rewind, whatever you need to do. Okay, so here we go, moving along. I'm going to look at number 2. I'm looking for the GCF. I see here's 16 first. I'm going to see, does 16 go into these? 16 obviously doesn't go into 8. So maybe I'll take the 8. See if the 8 goes into these. Haha. Okay, so it does. I'm going to put this 8 out here. And I'm putting it right by the parentheses because I noticed that this guy over here doesn't have an n. There's no variable. That's it. That's an 8. Nothing multiplied. So that's all I can bring out. Okay. So for inside the parentheses, I'm just going to go 16 divided by 8 gives me 2. And that's n cubed. 56 divided by 8 gives me 7. And that's n. And I can't just leave that 8 off. It's still plus 8 divided by 8 gives me 1. And there we go. All I can do is the GCF. That's a cubed, not a quadratic. So I'm not going to keep going with that one. That's it. Now, I haven't been doing it, but I want to encourage you to circle or box in your answer. Okay, here we go. Now we've got a quadratic trinomial. Here's the one where we're going to do our puzzle tray. 2 binomials, a binomial times a binomial. There's my puzzle tray. easy piece, x. Going to copy my minus. Now minus times plus is also minus. I factor 90 to get 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30, 4. Does 4 go? Nope, 4 doesn't go. Sorry. 5 goes. 5 times 18. Now I'm looking for a pair that adds up to be 19. So let's see. 6 times 15, getting closer. 7, 8, 9 times 10. Oh, there we go. And if that one jumped out at you to begin with, then great. That's the one you do. So always put the big one first. 10 minus 9. All done. Box it in. Move along. Okay. You got a quiz coming up. So please practice these on your own and then check, unpause and check back and see if you did them right. Okay. Puzzle tray. Okay, here. Okay, here. Now I'm looking at 42. Oh, hold on. Go back. Minus first. Negative times positive is negative. So minus in both of them. We're adding up to be 42. 1 times 42. 2 times 21. 3 times 14. 4, nope. 5, nope. 6 times 7. There's your winner. 7, 6. All done. Moving along. Okay. Here we go. Now, here's one where I told you before on the other videos, I want a 1 in front of the x squared. I want that x squared just to be x squared, right? So I want to get rid of that 2. So first thing I want to do is see if it fits into these. And it does. Those are even numbers. So I'm going to start out by pulling that 2 out here. And I get x squared. And then 16 divided by 2 is 8. And there's an x still there. Minus 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now it's just like the others. I've got my puzzle tray. I still have to have that 2 hanging on though. X here, x here. I'm going to factor 9. 1 times 9. Uh-oh, I didn't do my signs yet. Hold on. 3 times 3. Okay. So let me do my signs. So I've got a plus first, and then positive times negative is minus. And this is a minus 9. So that means I'm subtracting my factor pair to be 8. Guess what? There is my winner. And here's the part where it's really important that you put the big number first, or you're going to get the wrong answer. And that's your answer. Let's move right along. Okay. Number 6. Let's see if that 3 goes all the way. So get it copied, pause it, copy it down. And I want just k squared. I don't want the 3 there. So I'm going to say, okay, do those 2 multiply, or I'm sorry, can I multiply 3 times something to get 24? Yeah, 8. Multiply 3 times something to get 27. Yep, 9. So that means I get to stick that 3 all the way out front. Minus, and then 24 divided by 3 is 8. So 8k minus 27 divided by 3 is 9. Okay, this one's very similar to the last one. So puzzle tray, easy pieces, minus here, and negative times negative is plus. So I have opposite signs, and that's a minus. So I'm looking at something that's a factor pair that subtracts to be 9. 1 times 9. I'm just going to do that one because I know that's the winner. And 9 goes first, and 1 goes last. And that gives me negative 8. There we go. Box it. Move on. Okay. Now, it's a quadratic, but it's only a binomial. Well, the only kind of binomial that we can factor besides just factoring out the GCF is a difference of 2 perfect squares. And it's the only binomial that factors to be a binomial times a binomial, product of binomials. If you remember the trick for this, a first, a second, minus plus or plus minus, and then the square root of 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Just like that. And that's your answer. Okay, let's move on. Please, please practice these, okay? This one's a little trickier. So I'm going to break this one down a little bit more for you. Okay, so I look and I see 4 is a perfect square, n squared is a perfect square, 25 is a perfect square. That's a minus. It is doable. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, so I know that I've got this situation. Okay, for my easy peaks, I'm going to look up here, and this guy is 2n in parentheses squared. Okay, and then minus 5 squared. So my first term is 2n. And then plus minus or minus plus. I'm going to do it both ways so y'all know it's okay. And then 5 and 5. And if you need more clarification on that, we can talk later. Okay. Next one. Let's see. Well, that's a difference. Not perfect squares, though. 75 is not a perfect square. Let's see if we can find a GCF. So always, always look for a GCF. Okay, it looks to me like 3 goes into both of those. So how about I pull a 3 out here and make that be 25x squared minus 4. Now I'm going to recheck. 25, perfect square. X squared, perfect square. So that's a perfect square. And then 4 is also a perfect square, and it is a difference. So we're going to keep our 3 hanging. We're going to have our puzzle tray. Now, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x squared is x. So 5x is our first term, plus, minus. The square root of 4 is 2. And that's it. Okay. Here we go. So let's see about this one. Again, I want x squared not to have a coefficient in front of it. I want 1 to be the leading coefficient. And this one, 4 is the leading coefficient. So the first thing I want to check, does 4 go into all of these? So 4, does it go into 12? Yeah, it does. Does 4 go into 9? It doesn't. So what I'm going to have to do here is the over-under method. All right. And if you don't remember that one, go back to another video. So we're going to take this 4 and we're going to put it over here. So what we're doing is we're multiplying by 4. We're multiplying 9 by 4. That leaves x squared the way that I want it. And then plus 12x. And then 4 times 9 is 36. All right, now let's see if this one factors. Okay, so I'm going to do my puzzle tray. I've got x here, and then I've got my plus. Positive times positive is plus. I'm looking at a factor pair of 36 that adds up to 12. 1 times 36, you might see it, but I'm going to just do exhaustive listing just for the fun of it. Whoops. Okay, 3 times 12 and 6 times 6. And obviously 6 times 6 would be our winner. So 6 and 6. Okay. But remember what we did, we multiplied by 4. So that was our cheat. That's how we cheated. We cheated by multiplying by 4, which means we have to uncheat. We have to divide by 4. So this is our under part right here. So we're going to put 4 under here. That means we're dividing by 4. Let's simplify this. Those are even numbers. So 6 divided by 4. Hold on. I got to give myself a little room. Okay, so I've got x plus 6 over 4. Those both have 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Still got a fraction. So I've got the same thing both times, 3 over 2. Okay. And then I can't leave a fraction. So I have to move that 2 up in front of the x. So my actual answer is 2 times x plus 3. And since I have it twice, I'm not going to write it twice. I'm just going to say squared, because anything times itself is something squared. Now, I'm going to go back and show you a different way to look at this one. Okay. So this, in your factoring, originally, you didn't have a binomial squared in the other two worksheets. So I'm going to show you how that works here. So I notice here that 4 is a perfect square. 4x squared is a perfect square. 9 is a perfect square. So if that's the case, then, and later on, you're going to be doing something called completing the square. And so this is kind of a seed. I mean, you did it in Algebra 1, but let's review it a little bit. So if this is a perfect square trinomial, then the square root of that first one can go right there, would be 2x. And then the square root of the last one, or the constant, can go right there, and that would be 3. And then whatever that sign is would go right there. Now, and then that would be square. Well, how can I check to see if it really is? What I have to do is I have to look at the middle term. The middle term is 12x. So what I have to do is I have to see, is the product of these two times 2 equal to that middle term? So I'm going to put it up here. So I'm going to say 2x times 3 and then times 2. So 2 times 3 times 2 is 12, and there's an x. So yes, it is. So that means that that is indeed a perfect square trinomial, which when you factor it, a perfect square trinomial gives you a binomial squared. So next. There again, I want it to be easy, and it's not as easy as some of the others, so I'm going to make it be that way. So I'm going to check. Does 7 go into 36? Well, no. So darn it. So I'm going to do the over-under method. My over part is I'm going to take that 7 and put it over there with the 5. So in other words, I'm multiplying it by 7. Okay, that's the way I'm going to cheat to start with. So I get p squared plus 36p plus 5 times 7 is 35. Okay, now this is a good example of why it's important to do the exhaustive listing, because a lot of times you forget about the 1 times whatever the number is. 1 times 35. That's what we got to remember always to do. And I'm telling you that here, obviously, because that one's a 36. But let me back up a little bit and put my puzzle tray, put my easy piece, plus, positive times positive is plus, and then my winning pair is 35 times 1. All right, so again, we cheated. We did the over by multiplying by 5, so we got to uncheat by multiplying by 7. Uncheat by dividing by 7. So I'm going to put the 7 under here on both. That means I'm dividing. Okay. So in the first one, p plus 35 divided by 7 is 5. And in the second one, 1 over 7 doesn't simplify, so I have to move that 7 up in front of p. 7p plus 1. And that is my answer. And if you want to check it, you can go back and check it. You can, kind of quickly check it by going, oh, 5 times 1, that gives us our 5. So that's kind of a quick little check. Not a complete one, but just a little one. All right, last one. Home stretch. Let's see what time it is. Yep, we're doing good. Okay, so this one, I'm going to look. I don't like my 3 there. I don't want it. I'm gonna told you, I think I've told you that, I'm a manipulator. That's why I like math, because I can manipulate things to be how I want them to be. But I have to follow the rules. Okay, sorry. Not everything can be so much fun. So anyway, I just want x squared. That means I want to get rid of that 3. So let's take that 3. Oh, well, first of all, we can check. Does it go into 28? No. Doesn't go into 28. No. So I'm going to go back to telling you I'm going to take it and put it over there. And I'm going to be going times 3. That's my over. That's the over part of over under. Okay. The minus 28x just stays there. It doesn't get anything done to it. And then 3 times minus 20 is minus 60. Now I'm ready to factor. Now I'm back to just my old regular easy factoring. Not a big deal. Got an x. There's my easy piece. Easy piece x. I'm going to copy that minus. Minus times minus is plus. And now I want to exhaustive list the factor pairs of 60. 60. 1 times 60. 2 times 30. Do I want, think, do I want them to add up to be, get out of there. Do I want them to add up to be 28 or subtract to be 28? Well, that's a minus 60. What do we want? 3 times 20. We can keep going. We want them to subtract to be 28. And I can already see that 2 times 30, 30 minus 2 is 28. And like I have said before, put the big one first. Especially when you have opposite signs, if you don't put that big one first, you are going to mess up. So please put the big one first. All right, we cheated. We did times 3. We have to uncheat by dividing by 3. This is the under part. Over, under. So that means I'm going to put a 3 under there and a 3 under there. All right, so my first binomial, I have x minus 30 divided by 3 is 10. My second one, 2 divided by 3 is not going to simplify. So I move that 3 up in front of the x. 3x plus 2. And again, just a real quick little look-see. Negative 10 times positive 2 is negative 20. That's not going to tell you that your answer is exactly right. To be safe on your quiz, multiply it all back out to make sure. But I don't want you to get so caught up in doing math that you don't finish the quiz. So maybe do that at the end. Go back at the end before you turn it in. Okay? And that is it for this review. I hope that everything made sense. And I hope that you can use this. Have a good day.